Hello and welcome to Consolation League, a Warhammer podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Scott.
And I'm Paul.
And today we're joined by a father and son team that some of you may have seen before on a little channel called Miniwargaming. If you've heard of it, it's not as big as us, obviously.
Yeah. They might have maybe one or two subscribers on us, but we're closing in. We're closing in pretty quickly.
We've got the father and son duo of Dave and Tommy. And for anybody that's just kind of picked up on things, there's was it a oh, what did they call it specifically?
Narrative
It's like a
campaign.
Narrative campaign from like inspired by Space Marine 2, the video game that just launched.
Yeah.
So we thought this would be the perfect time to talk to the guys, kind of talk a little bit about what got you guys into Warhammer specifically, especially Tommy, kind of what is it about Warhammer that's so cool for you? And what it's like playing as a father and son team and that kind of thing. I think that would be really awesome. I know there's a few dads out there that are like, I wish my kids would get more into this.
I know one of them speaking right now.
So any hints and tips are highly appreciated. So I'll maybe hand it off to you guys. And yeah, if you just want to introduce yourselves and kind of give us a little story.
Yeah.
Sure. It sounds good. So I'm Dave, and this is Tommy, and we've been playing Warhammer since 2020, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got into I should correct that. I have many metal minis
Nice.
that I used to paint back in the days of Rogue Trader.
Oh wow.
Awesome.
So I
Okay,
have
perfect.
some really they're very nostalgic minis, of course. Obviously, love that era.
Yeah.
So I didn't play the game. I think I played a couple times. That was it. But I was mostly into the painting and the building, and I really liked, the aesthetic of the miniatures and things like that.
Sure.
So fast forward till about 2005, six, I think. I was working at Leading Edge Hobbies, the local hobby store, one of them in town here, and they're closed now. But they used to have Warhammer, and so this would have been maybe it's about 2007, 2008. Then it was two box sets: the Battle of Skull Pass for Warhammer Fantasy. You may know that one, and then the fifth edition. What was that one called? Do you remember that? Assault on Black Reach. That's what it was.
Okay.
So it was a great set. It had some orcs in it, a dreadnought,
Nice.
and some space marines, some old firstborn, because there was no Primaris in those days.
Yeah, right.
I hadn't played a game, and the pandemic happens. And just before that, we had picked him up from his daycare, and his daycare worker told me that he really liked to play chess. I think he was 5 years old. And so, all right, pandemic happens, we're at home, and he's watching some Star Wars stuff and cartoons, and I said, well, what do you think? I found the boxes in the basement. Now, I hadn't even opened the Assault on Black Reach box yet.
Oh wow.
And someone right now is probably thinking, you fool, you could have sold that for thousands of dollars. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Pandemic did some weird things, right? So I pulled this out and I said, what do you think of this, buddy? What do you? He says, can we do this? I said, well, we got nothing else to do, so sure. So we built them, and I remembered, I'm not a big fan of rattle cans and things like that. And it's a long story, but we built the minis, and then I started reading that little tiny. It was a very small rule book. It was very, very small, and went through that and waded through it, and so we started playing. Now, it was floor hammer, so it was on the carpet with styrofoam pieces and some Lego walls and things like this. And
the way to do it. It's the way to do it. It's the way to do it.
It's absolutely
100%.
Make it work.
It worked because what I found the magic was to do it incrementally. So let's do 5 Space Marines and 10 orcs. I learned quickly that you get to pretty much double the number of orcs to Space Marines to get anywhere when you're playing.
Yep.
And we didn't do any. In those days, it was all like shoot them up and kill them, and there was a few missions and objectives, but we just worked on the basic game mechanic.
Right.
And he loved it. and he wanted to play it more. And so we played it more and more. We just kept going. And so every weekend, and I mean, you know, it was through the winters and things like this. He said, let's play. And it's like, okay. So I was learning as we were going. I was flipping pages back and forth going, what is this? Why? You know, because it's a very, of course, litigious and, you know, detailed game. And I was learning as we were going, and he patiently sat there as I was flipping pages, which is the real amazement to me, was that he was patient enough to see the outcome of this.
Right.
So we played that for a while, and then I had built the Warhammer Fantasy box set, Battle for Skull Pass, which was a great box set, dwarf army and little goblins that you wouldn't want to put on the floor, because if you stepped on them, they go right through your foot, because of these little spears and things. It's a great set. The goblins are still being used now, even in Sigmar, as my understanding, those models. So
okay, cool.
Fantastic, you know, real what would you call it? Real monument sets, I guess. So we played that too, and he enjoyed that. We played Warhammer Fantasy, and then he started to lean a little bit more towards 40K. And so I said, all right, so 9th edition comes out. It's like, do you really want to do this? You want to keep going and get into this? Because there's no sense in two people playing 5th edition by themselves. He's going to get tired of me. He was getting tired of me already because he was slaughtering me. And his mother wasn't going to play. So we're still barking up that tree. We're going to give it a go.
AOS. AOS is the gateway.
I know.
Yeah.
So at the same time, they call it the 2nd edition of Kill Team, but some people call it the first. That came out as well. So it's around 2021, I guess.
Right.
But we picked that up too. We got into 9th edition. We started building, and we just never really looked back.
Nice.
And what really turned the corner for us was the Kingston Warhammer forum. I said, hi, I have a 9-year-old who wants to play. And would anybody be willing to have a game?
Right.
There was radio silence for a while, but then
I would hope so. A random message about, does anyone want to play with my 9-year-old? I would hope there was some caution.
Well, I'd like to caveat it with, I did state he knows the rules really well. He's a serious player. I said all those things because I was thinking, what's going to happen here, right? And so, of course, you know who it was who came out. It was Shannon. Because he's huge in our community and building up the community, and he said, sure, I'll play him. So we went down there, and how'd that go? Was that fun or what? Yeah, it was pretty good, wasn't it? And so it was, after that, it was, you know, we would just go in on Saturdays, we would meet more people. And one thing I found really great was the supportive community and how they supported the idea of him playing, because I think that we forget that this game will live and die based upon whether there's young people playing it, right?
100%. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think back to all of us in our generation, and we go, when I was 11 or 12 or 14, and we, you know, and we looked at these miniatures that captured our imagination, and this complicated game, and then we got a taste for victory, things like that. You know, that was the drive. And so I was really, really pleased to see the reaction from the community. So there's a lot of great people down there who welcomed him in to play games, and they like Ian and Corey and Jordan, you know, just mentioning some names there that right at the beginning, they completely welcomed him in. Apologies if I forget anybody, but right from day one. And so my wife would sometimes take him down there with her knitting and stuff like this, and her Warhammer Mom t-shirt that I had made, which is a copyright infringement, but you know, there you go.
That's awesome. That's really good. I mean, kudos to you for doing that.
Yeah.
What does it say on the bottom of your mom's shirt?
Only in death does duty end.
Oh.
That is right. And that is 100% true. No, but good for you for introducing him and being like, I think that's a really important thing, is that it's hard for the younger guys and girls to get into it, because let's face it, it's a rule book, it's a tome, it is a heavy, heavy book filled with lots of jargon and lots of complicated rules that you have to wade through and you have to play through to really understand the mechanics of how they work. So a real kudos to you for being open and patient enough to do that. I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're 100% right. Like, if we're not introducing it to the younger audience, they're not going to get into it. It's something that often gets asked of me, is like, oh, what's the age range of the people that play at the tournament? It's like, well, sadly, good or bad, it's guys around our age that are playing, because we've got the income and the time to play it. It's not as inexpensive a hobby as what it could be for some of the younger guys getting into it. So good for you for introducing them to it and kind of being patient enough to kind of bring them along. That's great.
No, I really like that point. It is the investment in getting like younger people into the hobby to sustain it, so I can keep playing it for another 10, 15, 20 years. That'd be fantastic. So Tommy, you're gonna have to recruit some of your buddies.
Yeah,
Christmas is coming. They're gonna have to work on their parents to get themselves some.
That's actually
AOS and Warhammer.
A good point, Tommy. Have you brought any friends into it, or have you talked to any teachers at school about starting a Warhammer club? Because I know GW does some stuff where they'll send like a kit to the schools for, if a teacher's willing to like be the responsible one for it, the dungeon master kind of concept. If they're willing to do that, then they'll send them kind of some stuff to get the kids and the kind of thing involved. I don't know if that's something that your friends would be interested in, or if this is like I play Warhammer on the side and nobody really knows.
I've been teaching my friends how to play a little.
Okay.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He's really had a few friends over to the house. Yeah. And we've tried it on, and it's a tricky thing, right? Because it's a 2-hour commitment.
Yeah, at least.
Just to walk through a game, even if you've put it down to a squad level, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and then they enjoy it. They like playing it. It's the momentum and keeping the interest going. So I have some ideas I'm thinking I might try coming up soon at our local hobby stores.
Cool.
You may want to save that for a future podcast. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's about introducing the hobby to some more younger people and see how that goes. It is a tricky one. As you say, the cost is there. I think having a basic event. My first idea, I'll just blow the lid off, was to have an event called Kill My Squad. And then they come and you walk through a new player, and they don't have to be a kid, they could just be a new player, right? The how do the basic mechanic of how things work, right? So
it's a great idea. I can remember I subscribed to Imperium magazine when it came to Canada, and it sort of did that, in stages. It had the first mission of, here's 3 assault intercessors against 1 Necron overlord, and so here's how you move and how you shoot. And Scott and I started learning the rules by playing those simple missions of like over Zoom, in fact, of like
during the pandemic. It was
during the pandemic. Yeah, the first mission was just moving, I think, and that kind of like building on. I think it's a great idea, man. And hopefully we can talk more about it in the future. But what I really want to get into is mini wargaming, because when I started going down to Nexus and playing, I was first starting to play Heresy, and I would see you guys there like on the Saturday mornings having your matches and stuff like that. And then I can remember I think I came and talked to you, Dave, because I overheard you telling someone else that you guys had went to Miniwargaming in Welland, and I was just like, what? And then you were on the show after. So how did that whole thing come about?
So because the thing to understand about my son is he's actually really good at playing.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. I recognized immediately that it's not a common thing for at the time 10-year-old to gain, like, visibly gain the respect of older players that he's playing, right? And I could see that. And I was like, okay. And I thought I hadn't really followed the channel, but he started watching them, you know, like his TV time. It's like, what do you want to watch? You want to watch something on TV, or do you want to watch? He says, I want to watch a battle report. Okay,
good man, good man.
Yeah,
that's the way to
exactly.
do it.
I mean, 2 hours of tablet battle report. We had to do it in phases. But but he enjoyed those. And then I emailed Miniwargaming Josh at their website, and I said, look, my son is soon to be 10. This was last year, in the summer. I guess I had emailed him in the March of 2023. So I said, he knows the game. He watches your show. He's pretty switched on. Are you guys, do you need to, have a reference for him? Because I have friends who might
write him a letter.
Because I was a little concerned about that, right? Because they're a business, right? And so I emailed him, and he responded, and he said, are you on Discord? And I said, I am now.
Downloading app as we speak. Yeah, go on.
Let's have a chat. And so we set up a meeting, and we had a chat, and I just said, are you now? Do you want to see our painted miniatures? I know you have a standard, like,
sure,
it has to be fully painted. And they recognize there's different skill levels. That isn't the issue. It's when you don't paint your bases and things like this. Or everything is a gray army, or even just black primer. It's not good. So they wanted to make sure that there was they were fully painted, and so that was fun, because you are a much better painter now than you used to be. He had some terrible things he used to say to me. He's like, as long as they're playable, I don't care what they're painted like. I said,
right. Yeah. Heresy.
Who are you, right? who is this child? I'm the painter. I love it.
Yeah.
So we got there in the end. You're an excellent painter. He actually won the Young Bloods contest at Nexus.
Nice.
Very cool.
Well done.
Model. Proud papa moment. And so they were very supportive. So my wife was the key player in all this.
Nice.
Because we were going to go there for probably, I think it was 5 days at the time. So that's a summer vacation. So the selling point was, hey, do you want to go to Niagara Falls? Or maybe Niagara on the Lake is near there, and then I explained what it was, and she just said, okay, what is this? So she had watched some of the videos and knew that was going on. But what I had to sell her with was, they had an ad. One of their website links was to the Miniwargaming bunker, so it was the videos, right? And so she looks at this, and she's laughing, right? Because they're really quite funny. It's sort of a bit tongue in cheek, the ad. And she said, if we're going, I get the officers' quarters. You can sleep.
Good for her.
You can sleep in the bunk beds in
Nurgle's room.
Yeah. So it's and so we decided to go. We decided to do this. I went cross-eyed trying to paint everything at the last minute, because we were trying to get everything battle ready. You do a paint schedule, and life kind of takes its own path. But we had decided, I said, we have orcs, we have Chaos Space Marines, and then Tommy had his is Space Wolf. Well, it's Red Wolves actually. It's a successor chapter,
Mhm.
and so they just said, okay, bring it all. I was like, oh, okay. So we did that. We decided to bring it all, fill the car, and our first time we went, really super great experience. Like
Mhm.
I couldn't believe how great an experience it was. We had so much fun.
Mhm.
We did traditional battle reports. So you played 3 games of 40K. I played 2 games of 40K.
Right.
I think a lot you can find a lot of those videos still.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. They were really, really easygoing bunch.
Yeah.
The space is really cool, as you can see with
Mhm.
all the decor that is,
Mhm.
um, the rooms were clean and comfortable. Really, really great experience there. So, we
Nice.
had a blast. We
That's
had an
amazing.
absolute blast. It was a vacation to remember,
Yeah.
and they got good content out of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember watching the first. Well, I think I've only watched the one because I don't know if were they all published to YouTube or some are subscribers, aren't
Somewhere
they?
behind the vault. Yeah. You had to be
Right.
a vault
Because I
member.
remember watching the one with Tommy, and they even did the battle report interviews. Like they edited it and cut to him talking, which I thought was great. Like, I mean, how cool is that, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and they were a lot of fun to watch. I was like, wow, how did this happen?
Yeah.
Can I get
That's
my
But
idiot brother and I on this show?
Hey, wait a
I'm
minute.
talking about another brother.
it's a great experience.
Mhm.
I Everyone I've talked to is like, you have to try it. They're now I'm gonna just caveat this. They're a business, right? So
Yes.
they've been and just understand that going in there. They're not your servants. They're a
Yeah.
business, and you're it's an interesting thing though, because it's a very shared relationship, right? You're having fun going there.
Yeah.
They're creating content, you're playing a game that you enjoy, and
Mhm.
they're able to put that online for people to see and enjoy, and
Right.
hopefully other people will get into the game as well, watching them
Right.
just the way we did, right?
Right.
um they've been at this for about 17 years with
Yeah.
16, yeah, okay, 16 years.
Mhm.
It's a challenging business. It is interesting because over the last 4 years, I would say the number of channels that do battle reports has like quadrupled.
Yeah.
Exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
in my own like short time in the hobby, I've noticed they just grow and grow and grow. I mean, it's great. You want more content, but then if you're selling that content, you got to be doing something different than
Yeah.
Scott and I doing a battle report show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so and
Completely.
that sort of leads into our visit this year.
Hmm.
So when I it was March, and again I reached out and I said we're thinking of taking another family vacay and coming down, and so Matthew emailed me and he said I was wondering if you wanted to do a narrative battle report. So
Hmm.
like some of their niche content, and he says you don't have to. You can do a traditional battle report if you would rather.
Hmm.
But I know Tommy loved it. He was watching it was a Death Watch Kill Team battle reports that they've been doing for. Oh, Death Watch Noctis. Okay,
There
so
you go.
sorry. He'd
You're
been
fine.
watching them and enjoying them, and I asked him, and he said, "Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun." So
Mhm.
it turns out I didn't have to do any rush painting
Nice.
because it was only like 10 minis that we had to bring, but we brought some anyway. I mentioned that they're a business, so one thing that was a big change was so we had 3 filming days, which are all day.
Four.
Was it
Ooh.
4?
This time it was 4.
It was 4 this
It
time.
was
Okay.
4 this time. It was 3 last time, Tommy,
Yes.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
4 this time.
Wow.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
it's an all day experience.
Okay.
And so what do you do? We were there for, I think it was 7 days total, or 6,
7 days.
Mhm.
7 days. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And what do you do at the time? Right. So what they did have, it was a gaming hall. And that was last year. We were able to utilize that.
Okay.
Now, if you a bit of a reality check to some people is a business that like Nexus or SBT Games, the 2 gaming
Hmm.
stores in town. One of the biggest challenges is your gaming space that we all love and enjoy
Yeah.
That's a tricky one, right? Because you're not selling product out of that, really. You're not
really.
storing product out of that,
It's
right?
expensive.
And if it's empty, it's expensive real estate, right? So I was talking to Matthew about this, and he says it is the biggest drain on you if it's keeping you from developing your business into other avenues, right?
Right.
And so what they did was the gaming hall isn't there anymore. But now that they just started to do this when we visited last year, the Miniwargaming Forge. So the 3D printing and things like that.
Right.
And it has
Ravage
taken up
Star
quite a
and all
bit of
that.
it. Yeah. So
Right.
Ravage Star, that is a third party company that manufactures that as a partnership. And then they have their own 3D printing facility, and they do a lot of scenery. It's really great stuff. They can do some of the printable scenery company stuff.
Right.
And then they have a number of different things that they can print for you, or they can sell STL files if you're into that. And so that's one of the ways that they are, keeping the business going as well. Because years ago, they kind of got hurt by Games Workshop had some changes. If you were creating online content, you couldn't sell their product.
Oh, I remember this being a headline. Yeah, right.
So that kind of hit them kind of hard. So they had to think of out of the box. And of course, that's how this business developed in the first place. But now with, other content creators, they started to develop again and ask the question, what else can we do for the gaming community? And the 3D printing is definitely it's a go. It's a great operation. I was very, very keen to see all that. And then of course, narrative campaigns is sort of the niche they were exploring again. And it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it looked like a great time. So let me ask you this. So do they not do the bunker thing anymore? Because I remember when I first heard about it and looked it up, I was like, oh, so you can like go for like kind of like a lads weekend and where you just play Warhammer all weekend, like you get the use of the game space and then you sleep there, and I'm assuming there's a kitchenette or something like that. Is that no more or?
No, the rooms are there. The gaming, that the lads weekend, like you call it, it's probably not like that as much. Only because the gaming space that's available is a shared space with the cafeteria that they feed you in. So each and every day, they give you a free lunch,
Nice.
which is awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
That you're being filmed.
Well, yeah, the days of your film.
Yeah.
So, and then there's microwave, fridge, and things like that in the rooms. There's some great restaurants, and well, believe it or not, it's an interesting town. It's up and coming right now, I would say. If you're interested in real estate investment, it's a good place to go.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, it's they have houses below 300,000, if you can believe it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, not many, but there are some, and it's
Wow.
it was surprising and shocking to me too. So yeah, the gaming space, the gaming hall is pretty much no more.
Okay.
So,
And sorry, go ahead, Scott.
I was gonna say it's an interesting kind of look behind the scenes at kind of how it was going and how it's changed in just the year that you've done. I know they've done a lot of their own kind of announcement videos and different things, and they are branching out into different avenues and testing different things. So that's an interesting kind of view into it. How does the experience of going there change how you kind of approach tournaments or just gaming with friends? Like being able to play in like I don't know that it's uber competitive like that when they're doing the battle reports, but do you know what I mean? It's like how does that kind of change your approach to gaming in general, or is it's just more and more experience?
It actually opened my mind up a bit because they were not competitive. They're not, it's not and I think that's the biggest mistake that people make when they watch the channel is they believe they have to be a great player to enjoy the experience. I'm a terrible player.
That's not true. But
I'm an awful player. Laughing at me, this indulgent son of mine. I am not a contender. I'm a consolation league.
Woo!
Yeah. So, but I enjoy the game, and I enjoyed the experience, and it was just so. Imagine if you go to a place where thematically they can create just about any terrain layout you wanted to experience, right? And you walk down this hall, and they have armies and armies and armies for all the game systems you love, right? It's pretty cool. And just seeing that, you're just sort of like, salivating a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're like, this can never be my reality. But being able to play, and the guys are so good. They're so nice. They're so indulgent to your mistakes. And if you go in there with and they're more interested in the gaming experience. Like
awesome.
Remember when you and I had our fluffy game there, Paul, where I brought 2 Hell Drakes that do nothing because but I love the Hell Drake models, right? And it's like that was just so much fun. I had a blast doing that, especially since how many explosions happened during that game.
That was hilarious. It was a domino effect of explosions.
I love when that happens.
It's great. It's the best.
It's great. It's happened to all of us, but you just have to laugh. Yeah.
So yeah, don't ever think that you have to be a world contender to play.
Right.
That's really good to hear. I mean, that's one of those things that we often talk to people about, just telling them to get into playing. It's like even if you've just been playing with your dad or a friend or something like that, join a local competition and just see how it goes. Because just getting out there and playing is all the rewards you need for it. And more often than not, you'll run into the people like the Shannons and stuff that just want to play new players and want to bring them into the fold. One of us. Like that's all people are really after.
Yeah, really definitely. Great. Yeah, no, that's interesting. So when you said, things like, when you make a mistake, is it like a cut? All right, take it again from the top. Tommy, roll that one more time.
Yep. So I'll give you an example. The very first video I did with Miniwargaming Luca, it was early 10th edition. I had a Forge Fiend, and it's 3D 3 shots. And he thought it was 3D 6 shots. And he's rolling and narrating, and I roll this, and which I roll really well, even for 3D 3 shots. But 3D 6 shots, and I wiped out all of his Locust heavy destroyers. And so at that point, that was our first turn, and we decided to break for lunch. So it's cut.
Right.
We go and eat lunch, and I'm sitting there, I'm eating the pizza or whatever it is we got.
Sure.
I said, it's 3D 3 shots. I know this. So I mentioned to him, he says, you're right. I forgot. We messed up. We'll fix it when we go back. That was it. So we're in the video, and he says, Dave reminded me it was 3D 3 shots, not 3D 6 shots. No big deal. Why don't you roll your dice? I rolled exactly the same, basically, as what I did, which was super awesome. But like, that's to give you an idea of the mechanic of how it works, right?
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so both times we met all the staff and all the members. Almost. Who didn't we meet this time? You met everybody this time again.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Even Dave.
Yeah. So Miniwargaming Dave is really a really cool guy. He's kind of like this man that passes through and then vanishes again when you're there. So the first day you got to meet him and you chatted him up. Well, you want to talk about what happened this time? What did he do when he was chatting with you?
He gave me Lord Pirate from Ravage Star.
Oh,
so he gave him a miniature.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, and he was really glad to see it come back. We didn't see Rip Van Martinez Ascari. We didn't see him this time.
Okay.
But we did see him at a different venue. Do you want to talk about that? We're talking. It does fit in with what we're talking about. It's about young people playing. So do you want to talk about that a bit? The league.
Oh yeah. So I was at the Ontario Championships in Barrie.
Okay, cool.
And he fell asleep on the couch there.
Who's he? Your father? This guy. Okay, go on.
Go on. What else?
And after the tournament with Van Scary, he got first place, and he gave me his first place prize.
Oh wow!
Oh,
It was the Veterans of Long War chaos box.
Oh,
nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's really cool.
It was
generous. That's very nice of him.
And I was so happy because I played chaos too.
Yeah, you're like, thank you, Tommy.
So as you can imagine, we now have 2 Chaos Space Marine armies.
Wonderful.
Yeah, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, these are the people that are at Miniwargaming, and
Nice.
so yeah, Tommy was asked by the league first place winner, our friend Henry, for this season of the league, and Zach is running the league this season as well. Great guys. Tommy plays in the league, and this is your 3rd season of playing in the league, is it, or 4th?
I've been playing since season 3.
Yeah, I don't remember how many is that.
We had 4.
7? 4. Okay. Okay. So they asked him to represent Kingston at the, because you didn't come first.
No, I can't.
No.
15th.
15th, but that's okay.
Second last.
But they
welcome to the league, son.
Yeah,
welcome to the
Constellation League. Yeah, I've been there. I was there this weekend. So
don't worry about it. Say it with pride. I came in second last.
Yeah. And so when we were up there, it was like good players from around the province, and the amount of respect that the L had for him by the end of the tournament was so great. That's because they kind of looked at first, it's like, what is this kid doing here? Right?
Yeah, it's a bit of a shock because, like Scott said earlier, typically most of the players, I think the youngest you ever see is like 20s, someone in their 20s.
Yeah.
And then I remember when I first saw Tommy there, and I saw him rolling away, and I was like, "Holy smokes!" Like, and listening to him, he's like, "That hits on 3s, that wounds on 3s, that's AP2," like, and he's just rhyming them all off, and I was like, I better keep an eye on what this kid's doing because he seems to know what's happening over there. So it's great. Yeah, it can be like, it's a little bit of a shock because the community is so stuck in this certain age range, right?
Yeah.
The other positive thing is now I've like more and more you hear horror stories about some people in the community that are not exactly great people to play against or play with. I'm finding that is like in the minority, the very tiny, which is so positive, right?
That's great.
Because
yes,
if you find more, like there's more people that are willing to be cool about stuff. There's more people that are willing just to have a game and roll with it, and then afterwards go, hey, you know what? I messed up this rule. Oh, that's okay. Don't worry. It's not that important. I mean, you want to try and remember as much as you can to do your best and throw the dice properly and but it's always about just having a good game. And to me, it's about creating a story. It's kind of neat. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's about winning. I know that.
No, that was one of the things that Paul and I talked about after the tournament that we played this last weekend. It's a lot about just going out and having fun. We talked to a lot of the guys, and it was like, we're just out playing with our little toys, rolling some dice, playing army men. That's all we're doing.
Playing toy soldiers.
Let's not pretend this is something super serious. This is just us having fun. So let's try and remember that. And that's the important thing, is that people, when that's the mindset, everybody's going to have a great game, because that's the thing that somebody's out there for. If somebody's just out to win or just out to chase the meta and destroy the opponent, that's when things go south, and you're like, it's not a fun game at that point.
For sure. Let me ask you guys this. So you've tried Mini Wargaming now 2 formats. You've been stars in 2 formats, the battle report format and now the narrative campaign format. Which one did you have a preference? Did you enjoy one more than the other?
Probably the narrative campaign a little bit more.
Really?
Yeah.
Right on.
And why is that, Tommy?
It's because you don't have to like we didn't have to scatter and learn all the different armies rules.
Right.
Instead of just
Cool.
like playing one.
Nice.
Okay. That's
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, the format of the narrative campaign is essentially it's not quite Kill Team, not quite 40K battle, not quite heresy. It's in between there. And so your operatives will have more wounds, and then they got a bit more character depth to them. We had to name them all, right? So
yeah,
I saw that. I saw that in the episode. They all had names, which was cool. And I liked that the whole like the wound token thing, and then there was like bonuses for victories, and there was a randomness to it because you were rolling dice and the result went on a chart and that determined what happened. And you know, it really got into the role playing aspect of it, which you know was really fun to watch.
Yeah, no spoilers, but it was a lot of fun, and it's quite surprising. Some of the results that happened in some of them. Don't say anything.
Sure.
But
no spoilers.
Yeah. But it's really neat because I mean, essentially Matthew played the role sort of like as a dungeon master kind of role.
Yep.
And so you didn't know what was going to happen next. Which was a bit refreshing. I mean, we all kind of don't know what dice are going to do, but this was what's going to pop out of the ground next, right? And
oh no, a Carnifex pops out of the ground in front of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
like a whole thing. Yeah.
That's the amazing thing. And I often wonder if that's kind of like the perfect gateway to get some people into it, especially people that play D&D and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's introduce them to the story with the miniatures and the randomness of the dice and kind of ease them into it that way. And like you say, it's a lower model count. So it's not the investment of 2,000 points army. It's a kill team box type of thing, and you've got some guys that you can go out and do something with without as complex rules, perhaps, or maybe you can be as fluid with the rules as you want to be to kind of get people into it when it's narrative.
Yeah, no, it was cool. It was very cool to watch.
I think you're right, Scott. I never considered this as the gateway that Kill Team isn't really. So I mean, we play Kill Team, and I love it. It's a bit of a beer and peanuts game for me, but
it's fun.
It is a lot of fun, but it is like cutthroat gotcha game. It's to those who know the game and love the game and are competitive, like it's a hardcore game, and I enjoy it. I love playing it, and when I have time to play from our other, because we play AOS too, by the way.
Yeah. You know it.
It's so cool, man.
It's so good. I'm pushing him. We had a practice game where I got to dip his toes in, and I was pushing him hard to join us at that intro to AOS tournament.
I'm torn. I'm really torn. I want to get into it. But I just got the boarding actions book in.
Yeah.
I love boarding actions. It is probably one of my favorite formats to play 40K. Because it's so fast, it's so fun, it's tight quarters, it's the smaller model count, it's the skirmish. And I think that's what we're talking about here. It's the skirmish battles are where the most fun is coming out for Warhammer. 2,000 point armies are fun to do, these massive scale things. But you don't get the visceral kind of thing of being like, oh, this guy is like, he's on his last few wounds and he's hiding behind here, and oh no, you're swinging by and this guy's gonna plink off his wounds. Oh no, I made the saves, he's in it for one more round type of thing. Like the excitement's there in the skirmish battles. And that kind of brings me to something that I was going to think of is, what is so narrative is what you enjoyed at Mini Wargaming. What other formats are you interested in playing? just casually? So you play Kill Team. I'm assuming you guys will play maybe Warcry or something like that in AOS or something similar. But like what other formats do you like, and what armies do you like outside of Space Marines?
Why don't you go ahead?
I have a Necrons army. Get to
Nice.
stop me building them because for the league I want to play Chaos.
Okay.
And I'm building Chosen.
Okay.
Okay.
Very nice.
And so I stopped building those. I started at Miniwargaming, building them. And
What else you have? What else do we have?
we share we are going to share Jukari.
Oh, okay.
Share?
Share.
Share.
What?
I thought we were going to.
So we have a Jakari army in a box. Box is.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's now. So here's maybe something a big takeaway for those who want to get their kids in the Warhammer.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
There's a double edge to that broadsword.
Yes.
It's,
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
what's yours is now mine,
Yeah.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I started. My dream army was always Chaos Space Marines.
Nice.
When I was building in the 90s, I was a big fan of Space Wolves, which are almost chaosy in their,
Yeah.
furry chainsaw sword,
Just as
wolfiness.
many skulls hanging around them, really.
Yeah. So we have the Red Wolves, which was sort of an accidental chapter idea that we came up with years ago, and we've just sort of stuck with it because it's actually kind of neat. So Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, Necrons is yours. That's like definitely yours. You've been holding on to that one for quite some time.
Nice.
We have the Tyrannids, of course, from Leviathan. We haven't even
Yep.
so that's our 40K stuff. Kill Team. So
Oh.
It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
it is. And do you know why? I love how their characters, every operative is a character, right? And so when they went on their run of the boarding action style terrain, it's like, I have to get one of these boxes. Which one am I going to get? What are they going to come out with next? What am I going to do? And it's like the Soul Shackle one really grabbed my attention. The one with the Drukari
and the blown up walls.
Oh yeah, the Drukari and the RoboCop / Judge Dredd guy.
Yeah.
Love them. I haven't even built those guys yet. But anyway, I really loved playing the Kill Team missions with the boarding action terrain. There's some really interesting stuff going on there. If you like the Kill Team game mechanic, and I gotta admit, I enjoy it too. It's different. Is it an entry level into 40K? I would argue not really.
No, I would agree with you. It's not 40K. It's its own thing, but it's a lot of fun. I agree with you.
Nice.
It's the only game where you can blow your own guys up. Because it doesn't matter if you target the enemy and they're in the blast radius and your operatives get hit, they take the hit. Now there's the new release. I haven't even looked into any of that. It's coming out. But
I think it'll be out before the holidays.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I put it up on pre-order already.
Yeah.
That I was gonna get it. But yeah, we have a whole bunch of kill teams. We love the lore. We love the narrative stuff, the characters. It's something that he and I do together, and that's the big thing.
That's great.
I know before we start to get into like cliche land here, troops. The reality is it's true. I mean, we are spending a lot of time doing this together and enjoying every minute of it. And that's a huge thing. I don't regret any minute that we spend on this, and my wife is completely supportive of this. Even though we tried to get her to, because we bought Skaven Tide, that we thought she should have a little rat army,
right,
for AOS, but she doesn't seem to want to go there.
Just remind her, only in death does duty end.
It's exactly true. True.
There you go.
But you know, dinner table conversations, it'll be like all of a sudden she'll go, I know that word. I know what that means. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife often just says, oh, just hangs her head in a little bit of shame. She's like, you're just growing your nerd army as you go. I'm like, yes, don't forget it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thanks a lot, guys. This was a lot of fun, and thanks for sharing this insight into mini wargaming. We'll be sure to add the link in the description of this episode for the fans to check out the first episode of that narrative campaign. I know I watched it today and I really enjoyed it.
It's a lot of fun. I'm curious to see where it goes.
100%.
Especially since I'm also playing the Space Marines game, so I'm looking to see kind of where it kind of deviates from the story a little bit and where it's kind of taking stuff through. I love the execution kills, given extra stuff. That's not a spoiler. That is actually mentioned in the show at the beginning.
Description. Yep.
So, but yeah, thanks very much, guys. This has been great. Wish you all the best in your league and in all the future games that you guys have. And thanks for being on the show.
Thanks. It was great fun.
Bye.
Bye.